Hey everybody. By everyone, I mean my 5 subscribers, my 7 subscribers. If you are watching or listening, thank you. Some big stories out of Israel in the last year, some in the last week that we're going to cover. They connect in a pretty disturbing way. We've got victims' families pleading for an independent inquiry into October 7th, Netanyahu refusing to allow one, and intelligence reports from earlier this year that show that Israel had warnings long before October 7th. When you line them up, raises some real questions about who may have failed and potentially who might be covering it up. From the Jerusalem Post on November 10th, Netanyahu rejects October 7th inquiry process as bereaved families turn their backs. So, some family members affected by October 7th protested against Netanyahu during the Monday Knesset's 40 signature debate on establishing a state commission of inquiry into the Israeli government's management of October 7th. Netanyahu is against Israel's method of forming a state commission of inquiry, which allows for an independent investigation. Later in the article, it says that an inquiry into October 7th has repeatedly been blocked despite a large amount of the public supporting an independent investigation. Should also note that the investigation is also wanted by victims of the attacks and their families as well. Ron Katz, a member of Yesh Atid, which is a centrist political party in Israel, even asked Netanyahu why he's running away from the truth. So what do you guys think? Do you think an independent investigation makes sense? Is this a reasonable request? Do you think Bibi owes the families and the public an investigation if there's enough public support, or whether or not there's enough support? Personally, I think it's always a good idea to run an independent investigation unless you believe it'll somehow hurt you, unless you might have something to hide. I don't know. This also comes at a time when Trump recently urged Israel to pardon Netanyahu. From PBS on November 12th, again, guys, we forget about all of this so easily, but a few years ago, there were massive anti-Bibi Netanyahu protests all over Israel. They wanted him gone. Netanyahu has been charged with fraud, breach of trust, and accepting bribes in 3 different cases. They've accused him of exchanging favors with rich supporters. By the way, he's the only sitting prime minister in Israeli history to stand trial. Trump and Bibi, birds of a feather. From March 2025, from the Times of Israel, PM, fact, not conspiracy, Shin Bet chief knew October 7th attack likely didn't wake me. So the story here is that Bibi claimed that Shin Bet chief Ronan Bar knew a few hours before the October 7th attack that it would happen, but he didn't alert him. So Bibi says Bar didn't tell him that it was going to happen, but he knew. And Bar claims that he let Israel and Israeli deputies know countless times before October 7th. And the headliner story here is from NPR in March 2025. What went wrong? Israel's spy agency lists failures in preventing October 7th attack. This story says that Israel caught wind of the October 2023 attack way back in 2018, and Israel's intelligence agency didn't consider it an actual threat. So this was the main conclusion of Israel's Shin Bet agency. Again, former chief Ronan Bar used to head it, I think as recently as June 2025. The main conclusion is that they knew about it before October 7th. So Shin Bet alluded to Israel failing to assassinate senior Hamas leaders and of actually propping up Hamas rule in Gaza to make the border calmer. Some of the big claims as a part of the investigation include: 1, Israel allowed Qatar to fund Hamas, and the funds were diverted to Hamas military capabilities. 2, Israel thought that their wall fortifications, their fences, were stronger than they really were. 3, Israel obtained information about Hamas battle plans once in 2018 and then again in 2022, but they didn't take them seriously. So even on the day, on October 7th, Israel apparently ignored warnings. At 1 a.m., they were warned of Hamas conducting emergency preparedness. 2 hours later at 3 a.m., notified that Hamas brigades were activating cell phones. Anyway, at 4:30 a.m. on October 7th, Ronan Bar notified Israeli deputies, but nothing happened. Ronan Bar does admit that Shin Bet failed to protect Israel, but again, who is responsible for not listening to his warnings or to their warnings? So what do you think? Does this investigation make you think differently about the events around October 7th? Back in March, Bibi called for an investigation, but he's been very particular about who he wants to lead it. Again, going back to the first story, the victims' families, the public, want an independent investigation, but Bibi keeps blocking it. So, is he hiding something? What is he hiding? How long can this continue? His own people want him gone. It seems most of the world hates him. He's resorted to paying influencers, $7,000 to propagandize people. This is from the Jerusalem Post, citing a report from Responsible Statecraft. They want influencers to shine a light on the good things that Israel does, to hide the bad things, right? So a lot of interesting things in the last week that connect with stories from earlier this year. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. So thanks.